After September 11th, which is this is being compared to, and Pearl Harbor, the U.S. went to war against Japan in World War II, of course, and then after September 11th, the war on terror. The U.S., I believe we're past the point of no return in terms of the animus and hostility towards Russia. I don't think we're coming back. There's a new religion in Washington, D.C., which is called I hate Russia, Russia is the enemy, and we almost bow and genuflect at the altar of this new religious icon. The situation is this. The U.S. government says that Russia meddled by hacking into the Democratic National Committee email server and revealing emails that showed that the Democratic Party leadership violated its own rules and regulations to make sure that Hillary Clinton would win the nomination. Now, if that's true and it's being described as a parallel or synonymous with what happened on 9/11 or Pearl Harbor, why did the FBI not subpoena and take control of that server to carry out a forensic investigation? Why did it allow CrowdStrike, a third party that had its own self-interest and its own political bias against Russia, why did they take their word that, in fact, the Democratic Party server was hacked by the Russians? That on its face would make anyone skeptical. But again, if you're in a religious situation, you don't need proof. You only take things as an article of faith. And so if the FBI says we have a high degree of confidence without giving any evidence that Russia did this, without any evidence, if you're in a religious mode, you say, I believe. I believe, because I'm part of the religion. And that's the situation right now. If those of us who question this narrative continue to question, we're considered to be non-believers. And like a witch hunt, if you're not part of the witch hunt, you perhaps become a witch yourself. And it creates an atmosphere of political intimidation. That's what we're experiencing right here in Washington, D.C. And the national security strategy that was unveiled in January, and Trump himself came out to do it, maybe because of his narcissism. He came out to announce it, unlike previous presidents. It says that the main priority for the U.S. military in the coming decade and decades is not Islamic terrorism. It's not terrorism at all. It's for major power confrontation with Russia and China. That's budgeting and military contingency planning. Now, to do that, you have to really paint the adversary as an adversary. So it's an article of faith. And that's the way you can take the American people's money, hard-earned tax dollars, which could be used for housing and health care and education, the things human beings need, and shovel it over to the defense contractors. You have to explain to them that it's an absolute national imperative to do that in order to carry out this looting of the national budget. Donald Trump, as you said, all of the media attention was on his very badly stated positions at the Helsinki. But actually what they talked about was Syria and deconfliction. They talked about the possibility of improving the START Treaty. The START Treaty was signed in 1991. It said the United States, which has 7,000 operational nuclear weapons, all of which, just a few of which could destroy the entire world, and Russia, which has a similar number, that they should be reduced down to 1,550 and then more. That's a requirement also, an affirmative obligation from the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty on all nuclear powers. They talked about that. That was not covered, as you're saying, Peter. That's a big issue. The danger of nuclear war, even an accidental nuclear war, the catastrophic consequences are so profound. Why don't we talk about that? Talk about meddling in the future of the world. Nuclear weapons are meddling in our future. Having control over those nuclear weapons, getting rid of them, that's critically important. That seems to be off the agenda right now.